ITV's 100th race as we prepare for the Japanese Grand Prix around high-speed Suzuka. This could be an F1 farewell for Alan McNish, but in qualifying, the Scots in the middle of what has to be the worst smash of the season. The Japanese cameras failing to capture the full extent of the 170-mile-an-hour accident, flat out with the impact, but a wave from Braveheart McNish at the end of it. Hello there, welcome to our London studio. Alan McNish, very keen to take part in the race. He actually did the morning warm-up over there in Japan. We have just heard, though, that after seeing the F1 doctor, Sid Watkins, Alan McNish has been ruled out of the Japanese Grand Prix. In warm-up, though, obviously in great pain. We always feared that the injuries would hurt more on race day than they did straight afterwards. McNish did 10 laps and came 13th. Tony's not racing today. It's no great surprise, that, because the corner where he came off is one of the quickest in the world, and it was a huge impact.
Well, it was a very violent accident. It snapped into oversteer very quickly, had not a lot of chance. It's a short run-off area in that particular part, and you can see the violence with which he sort of shoots across. He has no chance whatsoever, but actually punches a hole right through the Armco barrier, broke the support post. But because of the safety cell, Alan McNish relatively okay and able to wave to crowd. Just look at that credible damage, and it just shows you the rear impact tests, and of course the FIA very recently just making sure that all the chassis are being used are the ones that they passed, the designs that they passed. So safety first. Okay, let's get the very latest news then from Suzuka with Louise Goodman.
Thank you, Jim. Well, as you said, McNish was very keen to race despite that massive accident in qualifying. He took part in the warm-up this morning, completed 10 laps, but he complained of feeling slightly dizzy afterwards. He was given the once-over by the team doctor, who felt that he would be all right to compete, but then Sid Watkins, the Formula One doctor, called him down to the medical centre for a further check-over. Sid felt otherwise, so on Sid's advice, the team have withdrawn McNish from the race.
Thank you, Louise. We hope to have a word with Alan McNish when Martin goes grid walking before the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. But they took, what was it, 1.25 hours to rebuild that wall. Michael Schumacher, though, always going to get pole. He always seems to be on pole in Japan, doesn't he, Schumacher?
Well, he loves the place. he revels in the place, and of course, as the car's improved so much, he enjoys going through the S's. Every part of this circuit is a benefit, really, for this glorious Ferrari. But there was more to come, and he was developing the setups even as he went. Now, I just wonder if they're going to start 2003 with this year's car, the 2002 car. It's certainly good. Michael Schumacher saying that he wants to try and win the 100th Grand Prix for Bridgestone as a present for all the work that they've done this year, and they've been a major contributory factor to the success.
We'll be talking to Michael Schumacher in just a moment, but here's the grid. The Ferraris are up front, 6 clean sweeps in their all-conquering season. Coulthard, optimistic, looking good in third. The McLaren's in front of Williams. Sato's huge fan club overjoyed. He's made the top 10. It's Button's last drive for Renault. Irvine starting 13th, that's the same as last year. He almost got a point then. Panis 16th, it's his BAR swan song. No Alan McNish. The Minardis at the back, and their future threatened by a dispute involving boss Paul Stoddart and 4 other team principals. Right then, like him or loathe him, Michael Schumacher remains the best in the business. Another all-conquering season, and he's still hungry for more. After another pole at Suzuka, Michael Schumacher sat down and chatted to James Allen.
Michael, the word perfect is often overused in motor racing, but can you think of any way in which this year could have been better for you?
No, clearly no.
It's been a dream, really, hasn't it?
It has been a fantastic season, with many achievements, with many good races, with a lot of emotions. So it has been a beautiful year.
Let's talk about this F2002 car, which is being worked on behind you. It came out at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's only been beaten once so far. That was in Monaco. What makes it so special, and what's it like to drive?
What makes it so special is that in every area we have been able to improve the car from last year, and although last year's car was already a very good car, we have gone a step further. We have Bridgestone on our side, which developed very well together with us because we dedicate a lot of time. We have a special test car who does all the development with them. And all this just works hand in hand, and is probably one reason of the success. The other thing is driving the car is obviously something which makes it a lot of fun, especially here in Suzuka or in Spa, where the circuit is a lot of challenge to a driver to throw the car around, get it precise on the limit. That's great fun. That's what is racing.
Now, your relationship with Rubens seems to have got closer and closer as the years gone, but he's actually got closer and closer to you on the racetrack as well. Have you been impressed by his performance this year?
Oh yes, certainly. I mean, if you look at other moments, and especially last year here, he has been quite far behind the pace, but in qualifying in particular. And this year he has raised his game, and that's obviously good, because as a team, you look that you have both cars together. Although I like to be in front, but a little bit is enough to do this.
And just briefly, let's touch on Indianapolis. You were smiling after the event. You were trying to do something, but perhaps maybe you didn't tell Rubens beforehand what it was. How do you feel about that looking back now?
I think what is important is that the end result satisfies us, and that's what it did. And as I said before, I sort of got in my heart, I got even with what happened in Austria. I felt I had to do something. And it wasn't discussed before, and I didn't feel being arrogant enough to discuss anything like that in front, as I knew Rubens was very fast in the race. And then as it happened that I was in front in the end of the race, I thought that's the right opportunity.
It's been a perfect 10 so far this season for you, Michael. Here at Suzuka, you seem to be on something of a mission, looking for that 11th Grand Prix victory this season. Do you feel like you're on a mission this weekend?
It's less to call it number 11, it's more to put another victory in a circuit I love, for especially Bridgestone, which have done a special effort all the year long, and here being in their home Grand Prix, so we like to make them happy, because it's their 100th Grand Prix and it would be their 70th win. So it's sort of special numbers which we like to achieve.
I've covered your entire career in Formula One. I've seen you go through so many emotions, but just describe the emotion of becoming a 5-time world champion when it dawned on you.
I think pictures explain more than words, and if you look at my emotions and the way I have been after the race, crossing the line or on the podium, I think all those pictures do explain far more than I could put in words.
Now, this weekend, Max Mosley has been here in the paddock in Suzuka. He's laid out for public display all these proposals for next year. Most of them, as far as I can see, seem to be aimed at closing down your advantage over the field. How do you feel about that?
You know, we have a saying in Germany, you eat nothing as hot as you cook it. Let's wait and see.
The old master chef with a touch of the Cantonars there. They're cooking up all sorts of changes, aren't they, in Formula One? Tony, what is going to change?
He's clearly been at the curry house. He would have only been eating the red chilies, though, don't forget. No, they are trying to cook something out, and you see how Michael Schumacher was grinning on that. I think they will change the qualifying. I think there could be some changes to aerodynamics. I think there could be some cuts in testing. Gerhard Berger, for example, is by that. But as we've pushed and a lot of other people push, they need to cut more on the aerodynamics. And as for the ballast, which is a weight penalty if you're successful, that'd be like saying to Michael Schumacher, well, you drive in these lead divers boots and we'll all drive in trainers. You know, and as for driver swaps, well, that's pure Disney. That's Dream Factory.
You can't actually see Michael Schumacher in a Minardi at some stage next season, then?
Not at Monte Carlo, no.
Good. OK, Tony, as always, we appreciate your thoughts on the Japanese Grand Prix. Email them to the ITV F1 website. We'll do our best to respond to a couple of them in our post-race show. Well, next, it's a little jaunt around Tokyo with another world champion, Louise Goodman, chatting with Jacques Villeneuve. We're counting down towards our 100th Grand Prix, the Japanese at Suzuka. This is very much the Michael Schumacher era. Before that, Mika Häkkinen had his time. In our first year, though, Jacques Villeneuve was the main man. Since then, he's battled on with British-American racing. It's 84 races since his last win, but he remains a huge talent. Villeneuve has been visiting some old Tokyo haunts with Louise Goodman.
A brief appearance in a Tokyo TV studio. First stop on Jacques Villeneuve's schedule when he arrived in Japan earlier this week. Tokyo is a city close to the Canadian's heart, and he relishes every opportunity to take a trip down memory lane. Jacques lived in the Japanese capital for a year back in 1992, whilst racing in the National Formula 3 Championship.
It was a very important year in my life because I grew up a lot in that year. That's when I left everything I knew, Europe, the people I knew, family, whatever, and came here and had to discover everything. So I discovered myself a lot, and that was great.
Discovered yourself in what way?
Just, you know, I guess it was the same thing as going to university for the first year and being on campus, except that the campus was Tokyo, and racing with everybody here. You would practice in the morning, and we would all have lunch together, have an espresso, and then, oh, time to go quali. Okay, see you after the quali. And it was like being it was like being at school, basically.
Who were you racing with at the time?
There were a few Europeans, and sometimes we hung out with the big boys from 3000. Well, that was special. Like Eddie and Mika Salo. So it was fun. We were all having a blast.
So you got into the culture?
Well, the night culture, not the day one.
I've heard a few stories actually about the stuff that went on.
Oh, nothing too exciting. Don't worry. Yeah,
what did you get up to?
Oh, nothing too bad. You know, I was 20. So
perfect age to get up to all sorts of bad things.
You just discover, you know, the different aspect of life. That's all.
There was time to revisit a few old Tokyo haunts before making the short hop to Suzuka for the real business of the week, the Japanese Grand Prix. It's a popular race and Jacques relishes the challenge the circuit presents.
Actually, it's one of the last real track that we still have in Formula One. It is probably the most beautiful track we have. It's a lot of fun to drive on. It's exciting. And it's also the last race of the year, which is always a good thing.
4 years of loyalty to BAR have brought little reward in comparison to the championship success of Villeneuve's early career. So has he ever regretted the move?
It's the wrong thing to do, because there's more chances that what you would have had somewhere else would have been worse. So it's better to be happy with what you have and make the most of it.
But don't you look and see Michael Schumacher winning everything? I mean, you're a man who's beaten him. You know you can beat him.
Well, there was never the opportunity of going to Ferrari anyways, so it's not a worry.
But a lot of people would like to see somebody up against Michael, and we know that you could beat him.
Oh, I'd love to be in a position to fight against him. You know, I would love to be in a car like the Ferrari. And to really to battle against him, though, that would be a lot of fun. But you know, at the moment it's not possible. So he's left alone up there.
He isn't going anywhere. Confirmation this weekend: Villeneuve will race for BAR next season. Let's go grid walking now with Martin down at the back end of that downhill grid. On you go, Martin.
Hello, Jim. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Yes, indeed. Here we are at the back of the grid. Well, all good things come to an end, they say, and of course this season comes to an end, and I wonder if it's the end of a few Formula One careers. We're right at the back of the grid. Just want to point out Young is on 19th position. As you know, Alan McNish is not in this race. I hope to catch up with him somewhere on the grid. Alex Young, the driver, smartly standing over there in the shade. I wonder if we'll be seeing him again. I finished my last Grand Prix for Jordan here in 1996 when I finished 5th, but at the time I didn't realise it was my last Grand Prix, somewhat frustratingly. And therefore it didn't enter my thinking. I wonder what people are thinking on this grid today. Let's have a word. I believe Eddie Irvine is standing over here. Ed, word for ITV? Yeah, not a great weekend for you, but are we looking at your final Grand Prix?
It was a good weekend until the engine blew up in qualifying, but apart from that we were looking pretty good, and I think in the race will be reasonable as well.
Yeah, and part two of the question?
Marty.
Well, I mean, we hope not. We would be sad to lose you because you've usually got something to say. You know, but seriously, are we looking at your final start? And if so, what's going through your mind?
I'll let you know in Australia next year.
Okay, he doesn't want to answer that one. See you later on. Quite clearly, he's still hoping that he's got a chance of a Grand Prix next year. I want to find Alan McNish because he cannot start this race, and that's a tragedy for Alan. They've stopped you from racing. You want to race?
Yeah, straight away. There's no question. You know that, Martin. I remember watching you in Australia when you cartwheeled at the third corner, and it's the same situation. But ultimately, the doctors are there for a reason, and you've got to listen and abide by their decisions.
But why did they say? You went well in the warm-up. You seem fine. Why are they not letting you race?
I think they're concerned if there's any sort of aggravation of it over my knee over the next 2 hours, that it could cause some complications. But ultimately, it's just disappointment from myself, but for the team and also everybody that's came here.
But it's your left knee, isn't it? Which is a passenger. It's your right knee, is it? OK, that's different then. But do you feel you can do this Grand Prix? Absolutely, clearly. And therefore, if you've got a problem, surely you can just pull out.
Yeah, adrenaline gets you through. And, you know, that's why we're here. You get pumped up over a few days. I felt pretty good this morning, got in and drove the car. I felt pretty well. You know, I think we're 12th quickest. And so, therefore, I wasn't necessarily expecting a problem for this afternoon. However, as I said before, it's a medical decision.
Now, I'm gutted for you, obviously, and I was just saying that my last Grand Prix was here, but I didn't know about it. We asked Eddie Irvine, he doesn't want to say. Minardi is saying they may not be able to race next year financially. Mika Salo probably out of Formula One. What's going through your mind right now? You must be destroyed standing here. Do you think you've got a chance? Is there a chance we'll see you in Melbourne?
Yes, there is a chance that we'll be in Melbourne next year. You know, I don't want to end my Formula One career on this note. You know, we've had a pretty strong season up till now, and I was looking forward to a strong performance this afternoon, but you know, I think there's quite a lot of question marks up and down the pit lane.
Well, all the fans back in the UK, I'm sure, feel for you. To you, Jim.
Thank you, Martin. Bitterly upset McNish ruled out. Montoya starting. He's equalled his worst grid position of the season. Massive local support there for Sato. Stand by then for your last taste of Formula One action until the spring. The Japanese Grand Prix comes next here on ITV1. The Japanese love their F1. Takuma Sato's best qualifying performance has swelled the numbers at Suzuka. There's a six-figure crowd there. Beautiful day as well, around about 26 degrees. Let's join Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, 150,000 people crammed into the Suzuka International Motor Circuit, looking down at the last grid of the 2002 Formula One season. And what a season it's been, particularly for Michael Schumacher. 20% bigger the crowd this year than it was last year. You can see them jammed in on these grandstands, precarious angles, the flags fluttering, and the magnificent fairground right behind. This place owned by Honda, and they've certainly put a special effort in this weekend to get Takuma Sato and Giancarlo Fisichella, two of their drivers, well up the grid. And no doubt yesterday's performance by Sato, a stunning drive, very, very brave, to get himself 7th on the grid, has swelled the crowd for today. Only 19 cars go today. Alan McNish, a huge shunt yesterday in qualifying. 50G impact with the Armco barriers. Luckily for Alan, he went in backwards rather than forwards. He has hurt his knee, and the doctors have ruled him out of the race. And so a very unfortunate possible end to his Formula One career for Alan McNish. There is Takuma Sato. Ironically, done very little of his racing over here in Japan. He's schooled in the UK. And yet he was incredibly surprised at how popular he was when he arrived here to race in this Grand Prix, considering that he hardly ever raced here. Martin, I sense the atmosphere on the grid quite unusual, a mixture of tension with all that's going on in the background of Formula One, proposals and all that kind of thing, a mix of sadness for some of the drivers perhaps racing in the last Grand Prix, but nevertheless the serious business of racing at the heart of that grid. Yes,
there is a big sense of tension down there, James, in that obviously we had McNish turning his Toyota into a tin opener yesterday. That was a serious incident, ending up the other side of the barrier. And of course, in the junior Formula race they had this morning, a young 22-year-old guy having a terrible shunt into the catch fencing and being airlifted away to hospital. And it's put a tension into the place. We've seen a few cars hit the wall. Tremendous crowd, as you say. I've been coming here since 1987 for Formula One and sports car. Never seen anything like it. Even in Senna's heyday, I don't think I saw as many people out there in the malls and grandstands as we have here today. So a big interest, I think, with Toyota, Honda, as you say, Takuma Sato. Sato's in the spare car. He had an engine problem, so he had a problem going around to the track. But also, I'm told Jenson Button has a fairly major problem as well, and he's in the spare car. So lots of dramas down there on the grid and a general tension within the crowd.
Yes, Martin referring to Ayrton Senna, the great champion from Brazil, 3 times a world champion, clinched those titles here at Suzuka very emotionally and very memorably, and he was something of a god in this part of the world. They really, really celebrated Ayrton Senna. They're pretty fond of this guy too, Juan Montoya. His worst grid slot of the year so far, equalled it yesterday, and his teammate Ralf Schumacher was particularly happy to have out-qualified him here after an intense amount of needle marching between those two BMW Williams drivers in the last couple of Grand Prix. They've taken each other out, the team's had a word with them, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they go this afternoon, because they're on the same row of the grid, which is row 3. In front of them, leapfrogging them again, the 2 McLarens and then the 2 Ferraris at the front.
Yes, I think it's going to be interesting between the Ferraris. Obviously, Michael claiming he gave Rubens the Monza win, which Rubens Barrichello disputes. Then, of course, the silliness on the line in Indianapolis, where, for sure, Michael did not mean to give that race away. I think Michael, he's supreme around this racetrack, will want to totally dominate this afternoon. Had dinner with Rubens Barrichello last night, and he's pretty intent on at least keeping Michael honest this afternoon, and obviously, hopefully, trying to beat him. So there's a bit of needle, I would imagine, between the 2 Ferrari drivers. The 2 McLaren boys will be well satisfied at being ahead of Williams. And, of course, as Ralf Schumacher said in an interview on ITV, I'm no longer 15. I don't need to be told that I shouldn't run into my teammate, but these things do happen. But there is a sense of sort of aggro, I think, brewing further between those two. And then, of course, the 2 Jordans just behind them.
Well, Montoya, as they get ready to go off away on their parade lap, Juan Montoya is getting married in a couple of weeks' time over in Colombia. A spectacular event by all accounts. 400 people have been invited. Frank Williams and Patrick Head amongst the list of invitees. But curiously, Ralph's invitation appears to have got lost in the post.
And you saw some white stuff flying out of the Jordan. Just to remind you, that's dry ice that's packed into the radiators to keep the car cool after their lap out of the pits onto the grid itself. This, of course, then is the formation lap as such. And they really do overheat when they get back to the grid, and they pour a lot of dry ice. And the teams normally have a little compartment that goes into, so I'm surprised to see the first time they touch the brake on the Jordans, a lot of that flying out the front, but that'll be long gone before the race starts.
So we've been focusing, not unsurprisingly, on Takuma Sato, the Japanese director, very interested in his progress. And we should also keep an eye as well, because the 2 Jordans are locked in a very intense battle here for championship position with the Jaguar and the BAR teams. The championship position at the moment, Jaguar on 8 points, and Jordan and BAR tied on 7. So a point or 2 either way this afternoon for any of those 3 teams really could be very decisive in terms of prize money and in terms of all kinds of other benefits and status going into next year's season. So it might only be a midfield scrap, but it's intensely important to all 3 of those teams.
Yes, indeed. And while I was on the grid, I picked up some information that a Jordan driver had a problem. It was Fisichella and not Sato that had the engine problems. It's Fisichella in the spare car. And as you say, and I heard from somebody at Jordan yesterday that a point or 2 is £2 million worth of extra TV money, freight money and travel money for next year. So a lot of money at stake during the days when attracting sponsorship in the world market is as hard as it's ever been. So an important day for the midfield teams, as you rightly say, James.
Yes, Jordan struggling at the moment, we're here, to put a good budget together for next season. They've got another problem, which is that their engine isn't going to arrive from Ford until well into January. So whilst you might think this is the last bit of driving these guys are going to do, most of them are going to be testing very hard starting in November. But the Jordan team, they aren't going to be out doing any testing until January of next year. So a lot of headaches at the moment for Eddie Jordan. Looking down there on the McLaren, both McLarens, Kimi Raikkonen and David Coulthard, have been very strong here this weekend. Can they challenge the Ferraris this afternoon? Can they keep the Williamses behind them? We'll be finding out very shortly.
Well, they're all in. 19 cars then on the grid. The last time, other than this season, they were less than 20 cars on the grid. Surprisingly, was only as recent as 1996, but nonetheless, less than 20 starters, and the man taking the most pain right now is Alan McNish, who's going to take the most pleasure and lead this Grand Prix into the first corner of this magnificent racetrack.
Yep, this is the one they all love. They might all want to win in Monaco for the prestige, but they love racing here. And one man has his name written all over the trophy here, Michael Schumacher, 7 times on pole. He's done it again. He starts from the front row of the grid this afternoon. The last car is in position. The safety car comes into position behind as well. Everything is ready now. Long hold Now we've got some lights. The tension is building. Suzuka! Look at the Renaults diving out down the middle, and look at Raikkonen cutting across. David Coulthard right behind Rubens Barrichello and almost clips Ralf Schumacher. Fantastic start though by Michael Schumacher, and Coulthard away very well, but he couldn't make that start pay for him. Schumacher leads, Barrichello second, Coulthard third, fourth is Ralf Schumacher, who's got ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. Yes, you're right, Coulthard got a better start than Barrichello, but Barrichello covered his line extremely well. Michael with that perfect start, much more. The 8th Ferrari 1-2 of what has been a remarkable season. The man on the left with the beard is Gilles Simon. He will collect the Constructors' Trophy. He's the man who designed the engines for Ferrari, a big part of their success this year, as Michael Schumacher picks up his 5th Japanese Grand Prix trophy. There is Gilles Simon on the left. You hardly ever see him. He's making a rare appearance.
That's Michael Schumacher, 178 starts, 64 wins. Amazing. 52 fastest laps. And some 945 points now as Barrichello takes his hard-earned second. But Rubens, I don't think, will be particularly pleased with this afternoon. Finished just 0.5 of a second behind for the photo finish for tomorrow's newspapers that went so wrong in America. Kimi Raikkonen, as you say, 3rd podium of the season. Not a good race for Raikkonen, a little bit scruffy, but nonetheless with Ralf Schumacher's demise in his 100th Grand Prix, Raikkonen had to enjoy the Ferrari moment.
Well, Michael Schumacher said he was here on a mission. He certainly wasn't kidding. He takes the record 11th win of the season, but the big story today is 5th place for Japan's new rising sun, Takuma Sato.
Thanks to James, thanks to Martin as well. Well, Michael Schumacher won ITV's 25th, our 50th, our 75th, and now our 100th Grand Prix. Typically, he completes the set. Stick around for our post-race show. Of course, we're going to hear from all 3 drivers, the 3 who are up there on the podium. Tony Jardine's analysis as well. We'll respond to a couple of your emails too. And we're going to be talking to a very, very happy Eddie Jordan when you rejoin us. So the Ferraris have given it the familiar red 1-2 in the final race of the season at Suzuka in Japan. Michael Schumacher winning there again. He owns the place, really. His 5th victory at Suzuka, number 64 of his career. The Brazilian Barrichello supporting him superbly. Raikkonen, the Finn, on the podium, approaching his 23rd birthday. Montoya 4th, low-key weekend for him. Sato's first ever points on his home track as well. And the departing Jenson Button 6th in the Renault. Michael Schumacher, 144 points, a record. Rubens Barrichello on 77, Montoya 50, Ralf Schumacher 42, David Coulthard, best of the Brits, 41, Raikkonen, his teammate, on 24. Jenson Button, 14 points, makes it his best season yet. Meantime, in the Constructors, 221, another record, breaking McLaren's best back in 1988. Williams and McLaren with plenty of thinking to do. Renault 4th in their debut season. Sauber dropping down to 5th. Jordan drop a place to 6th as well. Jaguar 1 to 7th. BAR go down a couple. And Minardi, Toyota and Arrows all ending up with a couple of points. What a wonderful story. Takuma Sato getting his first ever F1 points on home soil.
And he said before the race, my aim here is to try and get a point if I possibly can. Who'd have thought that it would have come true? And it is a fairy tale for him because it's a homecoming almost. It's 5 years since he's been back racing in Japan, and even then he raced very, very small amount of time in Japan, although he won his scholarship at Suzuka very late. Started at 20, watched his first Grand Prix here at 10 years of age. He said he was absolutely gobsmacked by the Grand Prix cars, determined then to make it. Crowd behind him, 150,000 endorsing his performance. He was sort of crash bang wallop, wasn't he, at the start of the season? Watch out, Sato's about, the other drivers used to say, but he's cleaned up his act a bit. The other drivers said he's driving, you know, by the skin of his teeth. He's right on the edge, which he was, showing incredible talent, but not a lot of maturity. He has matured, and he survived some big crashes as well. Not all his fault. Remember, Heidfeld T-boned him in Austria as well. He was lucky to survive that horrendous crash.
Very much the centre of attraction over there in Japan. Takuma Sato, well, our own Louise Goodman battled her way through all the microphones to snatch a word with him.
Takuma, you said to me that your qualifying result felt like winning the race. So what's this one like?
Just unbelievable. I mean, fans are exciting so much, and they are waving, you know, all 50 laps, and I could see everything, and it was concentrate, you know, and really appreciate what the team done, you know, the strategy working superbly, and the tire working very good, engine was very reliable, so everything was perfect today.
This must be one of the best races of your life, isn't it?
It's the best race in Formula One, that's for sure. And I've never seen the fans like this exciting, and I was so happy to score the 2 points for the teams.
Did you have any worries at all about reliability or anything like that?
If you are driving, it's no point to having had any worried about. But I saw a couple of the Honda engine that blew up. And I did a short shifting last 10 laps because the team told me looking after the engine. And then in the end, it was everything okay, so it's beautiful.
Big party tonight?
I think a big party.
They'll be karaokeing through the night in those log cabins around Suzuka. We've had an email about Takuma Sato from Daniel Eves in Sunderland. Thanks for that, Dan, after his superb showing today. Tony, do you think Takuma deserves another chance next season? It's in doubt, isn't it?
It is. I mean, of course he deserves another chance, and his manager is there in Japan, Andrew Gilbert-Scott, working on the proposition. I think Honda have given him tremendous backing, and they'll make sure that he has an involvement in Formula One. But I suspect it could be as a test driver for BAR rather than a race seat for Jordan, even though he's contracted at the moment.
Well, Takuma's party over there in Japan, the start of the winter holiday for everybody involved in F1. The ITV F1 website, though, keeps going throughout the winter, and the live chat this Wednesday lunchtime is with the Chief Executive, Jordan Eddy. Let's have a word with Eddie Jordan now, shall we? He would be absolutely delighted with the points and with the cash.
Yeah, Jim, I was stood in the Jordan garage at the end of that race. Michael Schumacher might have won it, but you would never have known it. Eddie, what a fantastic result.
Well, it was good, not just for the team, but particularly good for Taku. A lot of people have said several things that may have been not quite true, but he displayed huge talent all this weekend. His qualifying was impeccable, and if you were to look and analyse his race performance, it was so consistent, so strong. Made a call in the beginning that it was understeering. The engineers changed and gave him a little bit more front wing, and the car got quicker. So he's right on the money here this weekend. He really knows what's happening, and that's fantastic for him.
He's lifted his game this weekend, like you say. How much do you think racing at home has contributed to that?
Well, he was one of the great believers in British racing. He came as a very young driver and challenged in the junior formulas, and he persisted at it, winning the British Formula 3 Championship last year. And when you consider just 1 year after that, here he is finishing 5th in his home Grand Prix. It was a big risk for us to take him, but we believed that he could make it and will make it. And I think he needs to get corporate Japan behind him now and pay some more yen to make sure he's in the right car for next year.
He's certainly got Formula One fans in Japan behind him. I mean, he's had a fantastic response all weekend, hasn't he, from the crowd?
Well, we've sold a lot of merchandising. I'm very happy for that. I can just see seas and seas of yellow, and that's obviously good for the poor old damaged bank balance. But, he has crashed a bit, and he has cost us quite a lot of money. And obviously, I don't want to take anything away from him. He has made an amazing job this weekend. I think he's been star of the show this particular race anyway. Pity it wasn't done before, but he's on his way back here. I'm sure the people will go crazy here tonight, and so they should. They've got a big star now, and they need to look after him. They don't want to push him too hard. Let him grow properly, and they need some pushing and backing behind them, and then they've got a real champion possibly in the future.
You mentioned selling lots of merchandise. I know cash is a subject close to your heart. How much is this result worth to you?
This is such a great look at this.
I think we'll leave Eddie to his celebrations. Congratulations, Eddie.
We'll never know exactly how much that result is worth to Jordan. Perhaps he was whispering in his ear now about those crashes. You owe us a few quid, don't you? But no crashes at the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. Tony, a clean start. The two Ferraris away and gone. The Renaults did well, didn't they?
Michael Schumacher made a fantastic start. Of course, he was on the grippier side of the track. Renault's coming out of the slipstream, making a great start. But David Coulthard denied there. Now, Takuma Sato managed to keep 7th place. Just if you look from the aerial shot there and you look at the Renaults diving down the inside inside, and look at that button squeezing through as well. But that is truly trying to go inside Sata and just locking up. So Takuma's race could have ended very, very early there, but somehow they all got through turn one.
David Coulthard's been on the podium for the last couple of years in Japan. He had a very smooth, a very encouraging weekend, but sadly the Mercedes engine seemed to let him down.
Been very encouraging for McLaren and for Mercedes, and this is a hybrid car. It's got lots of parts that are being developed for 2003, the rear end, the engine, the transmission, and David said he was very happy with his driving performance this weekend, so it's a great pity that he went out of the race there, because I'm sure he would have been up on the podium.
Still, emphatically, the top Brit.
Emphatically, the top Brit, driving better than ever.
Villeneuve and Fisichella, we had to look down the field with the Ferraris away and gone for the real racing, and these two had a good dice.
Yeah, but it's also the battle of the Hondas here, this home battle, you know, the Suzuka special engines, and here pushing hard. Villeneuve's engine lets go, the transmission locks up, he snakes to a stop there, and very soon after the same thing happened to Fisichella as well. A great pity, but that's what happens when you're developing on the run. Aggressive development from Honda, and even going to test Valentino Rossi, their two-wheel champion from this year, in the BAR car in January.
That's a case of Honda pushing things to and beyond the limit with their engine.
Well, they have to push the limits, period. That's it, because you have to go right to the very edge, and sometimes they blow up like that. There's huge stress on the engines.
Were you a bit disappointed, Tony, with Williams this weekend?
Very disappointed with Williams during the whole of this season. They are with themselves because the chassis has been too conservative. They failed to deliver. Juan Pablo Montoya hasn't won at all. He's got 7 pole positions. That's a record. Most pole positions with no wins in one season. And he seems to have petered out in the last couple of races. Even Ralph here, who was strong during the race, even though both Williamses were pushed back by the McLarens, out he goes with engine problems. And of course, Jordan happy at that moment. They've gone from 1 point in 6, elevated to 5th, and very, very happy indeed.
Final word about the Grand Master. 11th win of the season for Michael Schumacher, a man in love with racing.
Well, but also a man, you know, it's contrast. In the United States of America, they hardly knew who he was. He could walk down the street. Here he's going to be absolutely mobbed, you know, and it's the 3rd straight World Championship for Ferrari. He's confirming that, and his 5th world title. In Japan, they're massive, massive Formula One fans. He is a god to them, and he's confirming it again.
Thanks very much indeed, Tony. We've got a competition coming up for you very shortly, but now we're going to hear from some of the drivers, starting with Michael Schumacher.
Michael, you look slightly happier than normal after winning a race, if that's possible. Why is Suzuka so special for you?
You always keep interpreting certain expressions. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure I'm more happy than I have been in Magny-Cours or Hockenheim, honestly. But I'm happy, certainly, because Suzuka is a special circuit, which I love to race on, and being able to do as well as I did, it's great.
At the beginning of my career at Ferrari, I had to learn all the lessons again, and right now I'm a happy person inside, and I'm doing very well. I think the team likes me, the way I work, and I help myself, I help Michael, I help the team, and we work so well together. So, you know, part of those wins you could put a little bit to my side as well. So I'm proud of my relationship with Ferrari.
I mean, you began the season with a podium, and now you're ending it with a podium as well.
Yeah, it's good to finish the season on podium. Of course, the win would have been more nice, but no, it was okay.
Slightly lucky result at the end of the day?
Yeah, but if I'm lucky once a year, I think so, it's quite fair.
Probably your last appearance in a Formula One car. You said at the beginning of the weekend that you didn't really have any special emotions. What about at the end of the weekend?
Not really. I'm just happy this Toyota adventure is over, and it's definitely I'm out of here now, and I can get on with my life.
We thought this was going to be a difficult one for us. You need downforce here, and we don't have it. So we went a lot better than we thought we would. You know, Friday and Saturday, qualifying the engine blew, and that sort of screwed us up. So we qualified further back than we would have liked, and once you're back there and you're not quick enough, you're going to struggle, and we did.
How are you looking forward to 2003, a new challenge with BAR?
I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. No, I'm really looking forward to it. You know, it's good to end this season on a high, but the most important thing for me now is to look forward to next year.
Well, now that competition, we've got 20 prizes on offer. There's a distinct Murray Walker theme to the question and the prizes as well. 10 signed copies of Murray's autobiography, unless I'm very much mistaken. 10 signed DVDs of Murray's F1 heroes. The question, it's a pretty simple one for you as well. Which world champion gave Murray a lump in his throat at Suzuka in 1996? Was it A, Jacques Villeneuve, B, Damon Hill, or C, Mika Häkkinen? A, Jacques Villeneuve, B, Damon Hill, C, Mika Häkkinen. You can enter via the ITV F1 website or by dialing this number 09069 51 50 50, 09069 51 50 50. Calls will cost you 60 pence a minute, shouldn't take any longer than that. Lines close at midday this Friday, October the 18th. Highlights tonight from Suzuka at 11:45. There we are then. That's 100 up for the ITV F1 team. Tony, thanks very much indeed for your help during those 100 races. We hope perhaps for an improved spectacle next season. We say hats off to the Ferrari team, to Michael Schumacher, to Rubens Barrichello, and to all the workers there. Ferrari emphatically the class of this year's field. Bye-bye.
You ready? Let's go!
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address, sponsored by Toyota, is itv.com.
Raikkonen lapping Eddie Irvine. Even if Sato did blow on the final lap, Button can't pass him unless he passes Michael. But if Michael starts coasting and going for formation finishes, it'll all change around again in the last few seconds.
To make it a really romantic story to see out the season. We came in this year, Martin, with Mark Webber and the Minardi team. A lovely romantic story in Australia, getting 2 points for 5th place there, which has meant so much to them this season. And maybe we're going to go out with a similarly romantic tale here in Suzuka.
Yes, indeed. The best ever result for a Japanese driver here was Aguri Suzuki when he finished 3rd back in 1990. So the Japanese have so badly wanted a front-running Grand Prix driver for so long. We've had a big input from Japanese motor manufacturers and sponsors over the years, and always had good support here in Suzuka. And good news for them. Anyway, Michael Schumacher, 10.5 seconds ahead. It's almost irrelevant, really. He's coasting now, some 3 seconds per lap off of his ultimate pace. That's Salo, the only Toyota to start this race after McNish's non-start because the doctors said he wasn't up to it. I get the impression Alan really absolutely felt he could drive this race today, no problem. But there you go. That's what they said to him. They wouldn't give him permission. Salo is running around in 8th place, 6.9 seconds behind 7th place man Heidfeld, as Michael Schumacher moves into the final lap, when surely he'll break another record for his 11th win of the season, which is an all-time top number of Grand Prix wins per season, beating himself, of course.
Yes, and Nigel Mansell on 9, so putting some records down that will be difficult to beat. After an eventful day, I guess, driver of the day, you're going to be generous and give it to Takuma Sato? Go on, you devil.
I mean, no.
Yes,
no,
he does.
No,
yes, he does.
No, it's Michael Schumacher. You've got to give it to Michael Schumacher. It is. He's been peerless. He's just been supreme. Sato's done a solid job and kept it on the road and done a very good job, but I can't give him driver of the day. Sorry.
I wonder what he'd have done if he was driving a Ferrari this afternoon. Final lap then. And the final lap of the 2002 Formula One season. Just a few more corners to go for the man who has literally rewritten the record books here this season. Ferrari came out with last year's car. First 2 Grand Prix of the year, they were beaten in Malaysia, and it hastened the arrival of the F2002, which is the car Michael Schumacher is sitting in at the moment. Since then, the car has been virtually untouchable. Only David Coulthard has managed to beat it, and that was at Monaco. It's an exceptional piece of kit, and the man behind the wheel has been truly exceptional this year. For the 5th time, he exits the chicane to win the Japanese Grand Prix. He has really bought and paid for this track. It's his, and so has this season been. Michael Schumacher wins the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of teammate Rubens Barrichello. No funny business over the start-finish line this time. He takes the win that he richly deserves. He stops, virtually stops, to congratulate his team. Without Ross Brawn here this weekend, they didn't miss a beat. Luca Baldessari has taken over as technical boss here, and he's seen the 2 cars safely home to yet another 1-2. And here comes Kimi Räikkönen to get the remaining podium position. His 3rd podium of the season, Martin.
Yes, indeed. Good run from Räikkönen. Crucially, Button did not pass the Ferrari, so Sato's guaranteed 5th place. Button, I think, could have passed the Ferraris as they were waiting for their formation there, and had a chance at passing this guy on the last lap, but he's still very much on track at Spoon. He's got 1:30R. He just wants to coast home now, and so he remains on the lead lap in the top 5, and he cannot be passed.
Wonderful, wonderful news. Eddie Jordan will know that. Takuma Sato will know that. We're on board with Japan's hero for the day, Takuma Sato. True bravery he showed yesterday in qualifying. In difficult circumstances, he managed to get himself up into 7th on the grid. He exits the chicane. The flags are waving. The Japanese crowd beneath us are going absolutely bonkers. A great story. A great story for Takuma Sato. Yes, son, you've done it. Fabulous. 2 points for 5th place. And a really big payday for the Jordan team. And, well, Japan's back in business as a Grand Prix nation.
Yes, and when he gets back around here, it's 3.6 miles the slowdown. It looks like it'll take about 5 minutes at that pace. It's going to be like he's just won the World Championship, I think.
Well, in a funny sort of way, he probably has. Who knows where this might end then, this great adventure for Takuma Sato. Honda engined. They came here this weekend with a very special engine for qualifying that got him up the grid to 7th place. It's the same engine that all the other Honda-powered cars had. But crucially, this afternoon in the race, they were racing the engine they used in qualifying in Indianapolis, which also was pretty special as well. And that's given him the horsepower to stay ahead of the Renaults. And it's kept him out of trouble. And although his teammate Fisichella had all sorts of problems, Sato's car reliable, and a fantastic 5th place to reward.
Yeah, I bet Louise and Ted are looking down there for Eddie Jordan, because he's going to be pleased too, isn't he?
He won't be too hard to find if there's a camera around him, will he, Martin?
No, that's been a tremendous boost to his team for next year, who are struggling for sponsorship, it has to be said. And although they've got plenty of irons in the fire, that is a tremendous boost towards next year's budget for the Jordan team.
Quick rundown then of the race classification. Not too many made it to the finish line. Mark Webber, the last man, in 10th place. It's been a while since we've had so few finishes in a Grand Prix. You can see that Button and Heidfeld, Salo brought the Toyota home on home soil. And Eddie Irvine as well. Ferrari then a dominating season, 221 World Championship points. They really have taken the mickey out of everyone else. But rejoin us in a moment. We're going to be catching up on all the excitement and joy down in Parc Fermé for Michael Schumacher, but not least for Takuma Sato. Welcome back to Suzuka, where a very joyous Takuma Sato, after possibly the slowest slowing down lap in Grand Prix racing's recent history, has finally made it to Parc Fermé. He's waved at almost every person in the crowd individually, and we have a record crowd here this afternoon. He's now going in to be weighed, and he really has been lapping up his and savouring his moment.
So he's weighed then, so they can deduct that from the weight of the car in Parc Fermé and know that Jordan were 600 kilograms or more. That's why they drive all over the track on the way to pick up rubber on the tyres to give themselves a kilo or two in hand, and then he reacts too. There's Andrew Gilbert-Scott, his manager, and very timely Japanese TV moving in. He's going to be a star for a day or two, isn't he?
Maybe longer. Fantastic result. It's been such a tough season for Sato. I mean, going into this race, as he answers some questions for the local PA, he had hardly scored. He hadn't scored any points. He qualified rarely into the in the top 10, and he really pulled it out here this weekend and put it all right.
Yes, remembering, of course, that wicked accident he had when Heidfeld lost it in Austria and just T-boned him with the back of the Sauber down there at turn 2 at the Austrian Grand Prix, and now the team can get to him.
Terrific little fella as well, very highly educated, speaks sensational English. He's made the move to come to England. Very unusual for Japanese drivers. They like to stay here because the culture shock for Japanese coming to live in England is so enormous, as it would be for you or I to come and live here. And yet he put himself through it because he knew it was the only way he was going to get to the top. And I remember having a conversation with him when he was in Formula 3 in Macau. Meanwhile, we've forgotten the main issue of the day. Michael Schumacher won the Grand Prix, by the way.